Good evening, Cubs and Cardinals fans. It's Thursday, April 19th, and Series 1 is behind us. Anthony Rizzo thinks that a shortened season might not be such a bad idea. Bryan Price thinks that a new job might not be such a bad idea. And Drunk Elliott, he thinks that $12 tickets to the half-empty airport hangar known as Miller Park isn't such a bad idea. The Team of Rivals podcast starts now.
Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. There's a drive. Way back. It might be. It could be. Playing a high drive into left. Back towards the creek. He's at the track. He has it. He's the world champion for 2011. A little bounce is slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it toward Rizzo. It's in time, and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
This is the Team of Rivals podcast. No insiders, no anonymous sources, just passionate analysis from the bleacher seats. Here are your hosts, Ron Nuttall and Peter Geddes.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Big series, big short series just wrapped up. We were hoping to see 3 games, but my God, it was painful watching the first one. You can see a baseball player's breath, and you can't even authenticate the player identity other than number because they're all wearing ski masks. Just doesn't quite seem like the baseball we're used to, nor the baseball we expect, even in Chicago at this time of year. What an insane week this has been. And your Cubs are going to have a lot of makeup games.
Yeah, they are. They've already had to cancel 5 games, postpone. Sorry, 5 games. So yeah, there's a lot coming up. It's going to end up being just like it was in 2016 when they had that huge stretch of, I think it was something like 24 or 25 days in a row where they had games. It's going to be a bear.
Yeah, and I know they probably, I don't know if have they gotten all 5 of those back on the calendar yet or not? I know they did the Cardinals. They have.
Yeah, they've got them all scheduled, but that assumes that they don't have any more weather issues.
So the first game, I was able to watch 90% of that. And
that being Tuesday's game.
That would be, I know it's hard to keep track, right? I mean, they should be well rested. Just about everybody in baseball, it seems, should be well rested except for the dome teams. But so Elliott's at the game tonight, so that's why you're not hearing him on here. I've sent him the invite, and we can, we'll stand by on this one, but we can give him a call here in a little while.
We could get Drunk Elliott.
Why not? Right?
Why
not?
not?
There's no good reason to not get him on here. But no, I watched the game on Tuesday, right? It was Tuesday.
Yes.
And just, I'm sitting down here in Charlotte, and it was 82 yesterday. Day before that, it was in the 60s. I was cold just watching it. Just watching the players play and seeing empty seats in Wrigley Field on the first game of a Cubs and Cardinals matchup, first one of the season, and seeing so many empty seats. It just feels like, man, they shouldn't be playing.
One of the guys that I work with was actually at last Saturday's game. And if you're an avid Sports Center fan, which I'm not, you saw him because he was the crazy man in the ski mask sitting out in the bleachers with nobody around him for about 100 feet. He said he didn't get any.
You sure that wasn't you?
Yeah, I'm positive It wasn't me. I was catching up on Star Wars. Come on now.
Oh, that's right.
I finished up Rebels on Saturday.
Yeah. And you were under the weather.
I was.
Blue. All right. So, no, with that first game was
brutal.
It was brutal, and I took a couple things away from it. First of all, there were a ton of walks. The pitchers just could not get command or feel for a baseball in weather like that. I know it's very hard. Yep. I'm surprised that 8 runs were actually put on the board, and I'm more shocked actually that 2 home runs were hit in that game.
I'm stunned that Tyler Chatwood was able to pull off what he did with 7 walks, but he also had 7 strikeouts. So that's kind of a testament to the crazy stuff that he's got. If he knew where it was going, he could be dangerous.
Right. And that's something you have to remind me not to forget to bring up again, is just the state of what we're seeing in baseball this year with the walks, the strikeouts, my hunger for just hitters. And what I mean by hitters are like guys like Jose Altuve.
Yeah.
That brand of baseball. So we should probably get into that a little bit later. But let's recap this series first. So what I took away from the first game was probably the thing that's sticking with me right now is Paul DeJong. And I know he was batting lower in the order, but my God, the strikeout total, and they kept saying on the broadcast, at least the Cardinal side of the broadcast, strikeouts are starting to pile up. Like, no, Rick Horton, they're suffocating that guy. They're not piling up. They're covering up every square inch of his body. I can't even see him anymore. Who do you
think gets sent down to the minors to get fixed first? Paul DeJong or Ian Happ? Because they're both racking up strikeouts at a ridiculous rate.
The problem is they have nobody to fill in for DeJong. I mean, Garcia is not a long-term answer. Jerko can play short, but those guys are like spot day starters at short. They have no everyday guy they can plug in there and be comfortable. I mean, we talked about this before the year started. That was for a lot of us that spoke on the previews. He was one of the Cardinals that if you lose him, you just don't have an answer right now for a we call it long term. We're talking like a significant DL stint. They just don't have it. You have to write out Greg Garcia, Jed Jerko combination. Right now, there's nobody in the minor leagues. I don't think that they're comfortable bringing up to plug that hole. So his strikeout total is, for me, it's alarming. And look, I haven't seen every game this year. This has been a tough start for the spring, not just from weather and postponements and everything, but for me personally, I have not been able to watch as many games as I really want to.
Oh my God. And I just thought of it. You're not going to be able to watch the next 3 games, are you?
No, I get 2 weekends. No. I tell you, man, I am not an Ohio fan whatsoever on anything. Yeah, no, I was thinking about that earlier, Pete. I'm like, oh shit, guess what? Hey guys, I get another weekend consecutive where I can't watch any live baseball, and I won't put anybody through this again. But there's some people exchanging messages on Facebook that run into the same thing. People from parts of Tennessee, people from Atlanta that are Cardinals fans that run into the same problems that I do. But it's just uber frustrating.
Well, and it's worse for you. I mean, Cardinals fans who are in Atlanta, they only don't get to see them when they play the Braves, right? Or are they also considered part of Cincinnati's market?
I wouldn't doubt it. Cincinnati has a hell of a reach.
Really? I would find it hard to believe that somebody living in Atlanta, it gets aced out of 2 markets. I have to think that the Braves predominate there.
The reason I cannot get Reds games now, if I went back to satellite or if I went back to cable, Fox Sports Ohio is available on that. You have to pay extra though. I mean, it's an extra $5 or $6 a month. And you know what? I've been perfectly happy with streaming everything. I have not missed a lick for 2 years. I have DirecTV now. It's DirecTV, but it's their streaming service. So I don't have any cable or anything. But they don't offer that on the streaming service. So it just sucks, especially on a weekend. A weekend is brutal. And the last weekend, it was 4 games. I get a standard series at least this weekend, but it's the Reds. I'd love to sit down and watch them, relax, watch a game. I can't, but it's the Reds, so I'll turn on. At least I can listen to the radio broadcast. So
the only way you can watch it is if it's a national game, right?
Right. It has to be on MLB Network or ESPN, and I don't know who the hell would be broadcasting Cincinnati right now in nationally.
Media. Nobody.
Right. So let's not. I don't want to segue into that yet because I want to finish this series. But so I tell you what, though. I took away that from the Cardinals. I'm Paul DeJong, at least the at bats I've been able to watch, and I do watch a lot of the condensed games afterwards. That's where you just see the pitches, right? You see every play. To me, without having an analyst on here to tell me I'm wrong, every time I watch his at bats, he's like immediately down 0-2 or 1-2. And I know he at times could hack at a first pitch, but I'd almost rather see him do that. And also, I'd like to see him scoot maybe 2 or 3 inches closer to the plate because they are just killing him on the outside part. All you have to throw is a fastball off the plate, 0-1 immediately. It's almost like automatic. So that's troubling. And even today, Pete, in the second game, we haven't got there yet. 11 strikeouts for the Cardinals. So we'll get into baseball overall later, but it's just like, this is like, it's not enjoyable to watch. It's really not. I don't want to see strikeout after strikeout. I don't want to see exclusively strikeouts, walks, and home runs. That's not the kind of baseball I like. It's just not entertaining. And I've had my fill of certain ways that we talk about the game these days. Just unenjoyable for me. And maybe I'm just old and crotchety. We've had this conversation on here too. But Paul DeJong and his strikeout rate is what I took away from the first game, because he very easily could have had 5. He could have been 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts. He ran into a pitch and hit a home run. Paul DeJong, to me, the impression I get, I watch him bat. When he swings, the bat is always in the same place. So as a pitcher, all you have to do is not throw it where that bat's going to swing. Sounds basic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's always swinging at the same spot. So throw it a little bit higher, a little bit lower, he's going to miss it. And who is dipshit who wears his hat like this? Forgot his name.
Strop
accidentally threw one where Paul DeJong was going to swing by default, and he hit it out. So it's alarming for me, and I'm not sure what the hitting coach does. In fact, I really wanted to put this question out to Two Birds on a Bat, to Jim Cromer, to have him ask Benji, because Benji was an assistant hitting coach.
Yeah.
And like, what would maybe be talking to this guy about right now? Because it is just, I don't know how. I'm worried too, Pete. They're going to have to, no choice but to do something about this at some point in time. We're all pulling, as Cardinal fans, we're all pulling for DeJong. Don't get me wrong, but seeing these kind of at bats being taken, it's just, it's not enjoyable. Game 1, from the Cubs side of game 1, I took away Javier Baez. Wow, I mean,
the man is on fire. You probably haven't caught nearly as much. Just today, he finally got up to the point where he has as many singles as he has doubles. The man right now his average isn't reflecting it, but I mean, he is hitting the ball as hard as anybody in baseball.
Well, I watched as much of the highlights as I could, but I'm telling you right now, that home run he hit the other night, and that was off Greg Holland. Which is nothing we can do. That was not a bad pitch from Greg Holland. That was low in the zone. If you're going to miss, that's where most pitchers will tell you that you want to miss.
Right.
Baez hit that home run, and it was not a cheap shot.
No, and it was into the wind.
He hit the damn thing out at his ankles.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've always been impressed with that guy. At the same time, I've always been nervous because he can excite himself, but if he matures, he's going to be a weapon, no doubt. So Baez and his way he can take over a game, if he can control himself, and DeJong's strikeout rate on the first game. Those are the 2 things I took away from it. Cardinal win, love it, take it. Bud Norris, another small highlight for the Cardinals right now, making a lot of us sound stupid. And you know what? Good for him.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll turn it over to you for game 1.
Game 1, I didn't get to see it because, once again, working late. But the things that I took away just from what I heard about it, Tyler Chatwood has got ridiculous stuff. He just doesn't know where it's going. And it didn't help, obviously, the weather. That certainly acted against him. He lost more and more control as it got later in. If he had a worse defense behind him, he would really be in trouble. You can't get away with 7 walks and 7 strikeouts. Only 1 hit. You can't get away with that without all the strikeouts and without the defense behind you. This isn't the 2016 defense, but thus far in the season, it's not looking like it's the 2017 defense. It looks like they've locked things down a little bit. The big takeaway for me, and I posted this online immediately after the game, I'm worried about the Cubs offense. Today's results notwithstanding, I don't know what's going on. It's the same thing that we saw last year, inability to drive in runners in scoring position, particularly from third base. Almost a refusal, again, until today, to go to the opposite field. Taking the exact same approach that I know we're going to get back to later on, of swinging for the fences, going all or nothing. It seems like the only person who's playing, and Rizzo's back in the lineup now, but the only person on the roster who seems to be willing to go the other way is Chris Bryant. Everybody else is just either not making contact, or they're they're following the Jason Hayward script and topping it to the shortstop or to the second baseman. Just a refusal to go with the pitch. And I don't know. It worries me. And it may be time. I thought about it a lot the last couple of days because, there was no game yesterday. It may be time to take a step back and say, you know what, maybe all their clippings are getting to these guys. Everybody's telling them how great they are and what good hitters they are and how it's only a matter of time before they regress to the mean. And maybe it's going to their head and they're not listening to Chili Davis. They're not listening to Joe Madden. They're thinking, I got this solved. I got this.
I know better.
Yeah, I know better. Don't try to fix me.
Yeah.
I have all these accolades. Don't try to fix me. Don't mess with me. I know better. I don't need to listen to you. Maybe these guys need to be taken down a peg right now. And again, even with today's game, right now, the Cardinals are playing better baseball than the Cubs.
Well, agree that a 5-1 road trip we'll take that all year long, right? Everybody would. But I don't discount the fact that 4 of those were against the Reds, which is fine. You know what? Hey, but I don't also don't dock the Cardinals because it was the Reds.
Right.
It's still a major league team.
Yep.
These are still major league players. Maybe they're a mess right now, but the Reds are capable of beating anybody on any given day. If you can take 4 straight from somebody, that's kudos to you. So one more thing I want to mention about the Cardinals, I can't believe I forgot about this, was watching Jordan Hicks, even in the cold weather, hit 102 on the gun. Now he didn't strike anybody out, and the guys who made outs weren't soft outs. I mean, I think Bryant got a pretty good piece of that, and I think the cold air and everything took it down. But looking at a few of the sliders he threw,
he's impressive.
To those guys was boy, I can't wait till the weather gets hot and looking what this kid can do. He's hopefully, it's too early to tell on things like this, and we sometimes as fans get too excited over a young player. I always default, and I think that's from experience, that I don't wait till people see these guys their second or third time, because a lot of those guys never saw him, but that doesn't take away from his stuff looked pretty nasty, even though they ended up making contact. They were all down 1-2, 0-2.
Yep.
Every one of them. He's been the most reliable person. Him and Bud Norris have been the two shining stars in that bullpen.
I caught the end of that game. And so I got to see him pitch. And that was the first time that I've seen him. He's impressive. The only thing that concerns me about him is he's got a pretty violent delivery, and he's not a big guy. And I just wonder, when you see those kind of talents, you want them to succeed. As much as it pains me to know that you guys, potentially have the second coming of Aroldis Chapman, who killed the Cubs when he was with the Reds.
Yeah.
As much as it pains me to say that, still you want to see those kind of talents do well. But seeing that delivery that he's got reminded me a lot of Tim Lincecum. And I just worry that—
It's funny that you said that, man. That's exactly what I was thinking. The freak,
it
right?
worries me that somebody who's that relatively small is going to burn out quickly because his body just isn't built to withstand that kind of effort.
Yeah. It's funny you said that, because as soon as you started talking about the delivery and the longevity, how long can somebody sustain that or keep that up? Lincecum's the first person I thought. But I tell you what, for as short as that fire burned, I mean, that was pretty damn good for about 3 or 4 years.
Well, and also think about how good could Tim Lincecum have been if he hadn't been a starter, right? If those innings had been used out of the bullpen, he may have never gotten injured. He may have had a long, productive career.
Well, and look at what's happening with Bud Norris right now, right? Been a starter his whole career. You put him in the bullpen. You've made this point on here a few times recently that you put some of these guys in the bullpen, they don't have to hold back. They know they don't have to go for 6 innings. They can let it all fly for an inning. And
Adam would be great.
Right. Well, it depends on how much he can let fly. But
right.
To that point, Adam Wainwright in that game, throwing, I say, Pete, some of these were borderline ephus pitches, but man, they were working in the early.
They worked. Well, and that's the difference. You saw in that game the difference between a veteran pitcher and a journeyman. Inarguably, Tyler Chadwood had better stuff that night, but Adam Wainwright knew what to do in the conditions, and it doesn't seem like Tyler Chatwood really was entirely clear about it. Also, it helps that Adam Wainwright's pitching to Molina, and Chatwood's pitching to Contreras. Contreras is not known as a good receiver and a good framer. And you know what, that doesn't help him either.
But Chatwood's trying to prove himself to a new team too. Yes. So he's not going to be in the same mind frame that a guy like Wainwright, who's besides the Braves and his minor league, a few of his minor league years, he has known no other professional team. So Adam Wainwright is still somewhat in a comfort zone. Yep. And he can afford to go out and take a few risks like that. I'm going to throw a few eephus pitches because these guys aren't expecting it. And, you know, if they make contact, they'll be out on their, you know, front foot and, you know, limited damage. Tyler Chatwood he's trying to prove something. He needs to, and I think he's going to be in a different place. And,
you know, I would love to see him dial it back because he's a number 5. And I think most teams would take what he gave for their number 5 pitcher, right? I think there are a lot of teams who would say, I'll sign up for that. I will absolutely take that in my number 5 slot because their number 5 is not as good as him. But, you know, I think that he probably still thinks as himself as a middle of the rotation guy, and he's trying to prove that he should be. And he's probably trying to live up to the contract and the hype. And you're right. I think that he's working against himself. I think once it warms up, hopefully once the Cubs offense warms up, he'll be able to relax a little bit and, you know, let his natural stuff take over and get comfortable. But we'll see.
Game 2 happened today. I didn't get to watch a lick of it.
Neither did I. I got to listen to it, but I didn't get to watch it.
I didn't even get to listen to it. I had Gamecast on next to my shoe on the floor because you're not even supposed to take laptops to the meeting I was at today. Or it's doesn't look cool if you do.
Sure.
But Luke Weaver had a rough outing, and he's looks like 4 innings pitched, 6 runs, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. So there was a lot of contact made off him.
Opposite field contact.
Yeah,
like this is what you want to see from the Cubs if you're a Cubs fan.
Well, you know, this day and age, I'd rather see that from most teams. I think
I agree.
Fan. I mean, I'd like to get back to just hitting. Hitting for average can still be cool, guys. I'm afraid that the panic from I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry. But Luke Weaver, not a very good outing today. The one thing I noticed in the box score here is Greg Holland did pitch an inning and did not give up a run. And so it dropped his ERA all the way from like 720 runs per game to 8.1. So, okay.
It's a victory.
Baby steps.
I was listening to the game, and then when I got out away from my radio, I was able to follow it a little bit on Twitter, actually.
Yeah, was it really a radio you were using? Was it a radio?
It really was a radio. I have a radio in my office. I can listen to Cubs games on the radio.
I don't actually have. Well, I can't. I would have no reason to have a radio here unless there was like threat of disaster or I can't. Attack. Right, I can't get KMOX here anyway, so I have to rely on internet things. But so good old fashioned radio. I mean,
good old fashioned radio, and it kept coming up to the opposite field, like Javier Baez's triple that really set up the beginning. Yeah, that was to the opposite field. It was that guy was down the right field line.
He was 2 for 5 today. And they've moved him up in the order. You or Elliot sent out a picture? Was it you or Elliot that sent out the picture of the lineup today?
That was Elliot.
Okay, it was Elliot. I like the look of this Cubs lineup much more than I did in Game 1.
I do too. I think that it's time that they gave Albert Almora Jr. a little bit of rope to prove himself.
I 100% agree with you. And you know, Baez just feels like a good number 2 hitter. The way he can play. I think.
Is it drunk Elliot?
Nope.
Oh, B.
Braden, I can't hear you. Speak up. Speak. Oh, hold on, son. Speak up.
Hello.
There he is.
There we are. Hey.
Hey, I didn't know you got. Well, I guess it is Thursday.
It's every Thursday, Braden.
I thought it was Friday for some reason.
No. Well, I know we've juked you the last few weeks because we've been a little sporadic. We had a couple bonus episodes. We had other things going on. But all right, so I won't get into your school talk. Yeah, I'll ask you about that tomorrow night because this is a baseball podcast and we are live. So the Cardinals and Cubs split, and so Pete and I were talking about Game 2, and I know you didn't see it because you were in school today, right?
Well, I looked on the iPad to see what the score was, and I wasn't too happy.
You looked on the iPad when?
Well, I was in social studies. My teacher's in social studies, he's a Cardinal fan.
Yeah.
So I just looked up CRD, and it popped up and it said 6-1, and I was like, "Are you serious?" Out loud, all the kids in my class just started laughing.
Okay.
Pretty funny, but I asked him, I was like, "What? Like, what happened?" And he's like, "Weaver blew it," and I was like, "He's always been good. Like, my dad on my podcast even said he's gonna pitch good and everything."
It's the one game I was certain they were going to win.
What?
It's the one game I was absolutely certain they were going to win. I was nervous about Wainwright and Waka, but Wainwright was ephusly effective in the cold weather.
No, what makes me mad
is
you're having a bad day when you give up a home run to Jason Hayward.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't think that was Luke Weaver, though.
It wasn't. It was, hold on. I can tell you.
Was it Weaver? I don't know.
It wasn't.
No, he was gone by then because those were the last two Cubs runs.
Hayward hit it off. Oh, Matty Bowman.
Oh, no.
Mike Matheny's go-to guy.
Yeah, well.
Mozeliak's going to have to take his toy away from him. That's what's going to happen this year.
I think he is.
Like he's going to too.
If you're Mike Matheny's guy, then that's not
that's a ticket out, right? If you're Mike Matheny's guy, you avoid calls from John Mozeliak to his office. That's what's going to happen. And that has happened a few times where John Mozeliak is, or Gersh, if he's allowed to do stuff like this.
Hey, John, can I make the phone call?
John, can I just okay? I'll wait till next.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I tie your bow tie for you?
Yeah, he has to. Part of the job description these days. Yeah, no, we've seen that a few times where Mike Matheny will. I mean, it's not just Mike Matheny guy. I know, and I'm not one of these repetitive Matheny bashers, but he does tend to have his default moves where everybody predicts it, everybody knows it's going to happen, and it's got to be easier for some managers to manage against him, knowing that he's going to make Mike Matheny textbook moves and cannot juke anybody at all. Mike Matheny would be a terrible running back because he could only run north and south. That's it. He would never be able to go left, right, or juke anybody. You know where that guy's going.
Craig Ironhead Hayward would beg to differ with you. He never juked anyone.
Was that a comment we got?
No, Craig Ironhead Hayward. You don't remember him?
Ironhead Hayward. No, remind me.
He played for the Saints, and then eventually he played for the Bears. He was a fullback, and all he did was run straight.
Whoa. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, if you're built like a tank, that's a different story. Anyway, I guess the point is that he's going to go to Bowman. If he keeps going to Bowman, which he has this year, he has Bowman warming up on the plane before they land in most cities, or at least stretching. Yeah. So Hayward, yes, homers off Bowman. I don't feel that bad about that. Hayward, a major league player, is going to run into one from time to time.
Yep. And
if you groove one, it's bound to happen. Braden?
Yep.
What else? What other Cubs Cardinals news or MLB The Show updates have you had on your grueling season?
Well, first of all, I gotta say, Cincinnati Reds, you know you suck. If you're not even 20 games into the major league season, and you have to fire your freaking manager and your pitching coach.
Okay.
If we do not sweep them this weekend, I don't even know what baseball is. Because if we do not sweep them, then there's problems. And no, we're going to win Friday, Saturday, and the one game I go to, they're going to get whooped like 20-0, like my luck when it comes to Cardinal games at Busch.
It will be, too. That is exactly what will happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to go all the way down there, and they're going to get beat like 4-1. And they're going to score. They're going to score the one run in a meaningless inning like the 8th.
It always happens.
I know.
Matt Carpenter, deep to center field.
Cardinals Wait, make your home run sound again. Get close to your phone. Hold on. And make your home run sound. I like it. All right, boy. It is 9:30 your time, and I know you have school tomorrow.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, you only got one more day, and you take a break. You got a whole summer to look forward to. I don't. Neither does Pete does. Son of a bitch, both of you.
The thing that makes me so mad.
Okay, last thought. Hurry up.
The game me and you go to, 3 rows behind the dugout. Carpenter hits one deep to center field, and Denard Span hops over the dang wall and robs it. A walk-off home run. That did happen. And in extra innings, when it was tied, he tried to stretch it. Clearly, it was only going to be a double, tried to stretch it to a triple, and got thrown out to lead off the inning. I knew they were going to lose that game after that, and they did the very next inning. All right, B. Well, you and I should probably stay away from the ballpark together if we want them to win. If it's a critical game, maybe we should only be going if it's the Reds or the Pirates or somebody else. Or the Padres. I've only been to 2 Cardinals or we can go to the Padres so we can watch the Cardinals play the Cardinals if we go to see a Padres game. How about that?
I like that one.
We can go to San Diego together.
Right. We can go to San Diego and we can see the Rule 5 versus Cardinals. Yeah, that's what you get. Charity. All right, buddy.
What a good dad.
I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right.
All right. Love you.
Later, B.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm surprised he didn't call earlier.
I know. He knew you were on.
No, he didn't. He forgot tonight. He called to spew.
He did. He got frustrated.
Wait till the summer. There's going to be no boundaries at night, man.
Oh, I can't wait until the race gets more interesting. I can only imagine.
Can you imagine? Rewind the clock. If we were doing this when they played in the division series.
Oh my God.
Yeah, out of control. 100% for sure. Yeah, game 2.
Yeah.
I don't know where we left off on this one, but I know. Well, Weaver had a terrible game. Yep. Hayward, as Braden just brought up, ran into one off Matt Bowman. I don't know what to take away from this game as a Cardinal fan, other than 11 strikeouts. It is a small mountain, not the biggest one. It is a small mountain of strikeouts that are piling up, and I don't like what I'm seeing there. I don't like the fact that I look up and I see my players behind in the counts early. It happens, but it's happening frequently. I know they're not the worst hitting team in the National League. They're in the upper half of the pack, but the execution on offense, and you're just as frustrated as I am. We're probably a little more frustrated than I am at the moment, the way your team has been on offense. So I don't take much away from this game. A split, I'll be happy to take at this point. It's the Cubs. Even on paper, they've been the division champions the last 2 years. I'll walk away from Wrigley with a split. I'm fine with that.
Yep. And the canceled or the postponed game rescheduled. Mm-hmm. How fortunate. Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize it at first when they announced it, but then I looked it up because I thought the date sounded familiar. That's the date that we're planning on having our live game / podcast. And now it's going to be a double header.
Right. We have to do 2. That's going to be interesting at the end of that night.
I know. We're going to get there at noon and we're going to wrap up around 10.
Well, the way I envision it,
the game starts at noon. We're going to get there a lot earlier than that.
The way I envision this, there's going to be a morning show before we head out. I don't know how much time.
Maybe we should get a room in the Hotel Zachary across the street.
I already got one, like a block and a half away.
Did you really?
And got a conference room reserved.
Nicely done.
I'll give you the name of it.
Well done, my friend.
We have to go very far. We can go there in between. We can do a before, in between, and after. And the after should be very interesting.
Yes, it will.
So, yes, that'll be on July 21st. I look forward to that. Any fans in the area in Chicago are welcome.
Yeah, hit us up. So to take my half of the game today, I don't know how much to take away from it. John Lester looked great. 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, only 1 hit. Joe Madden said that if they weren't up so much, he would have let Lester come out for another inning, but he was at 98 pitches and they, at the point, were comfortably ahead by 7 runs, I believe it was. So Madden pulled him, but Lester looked good other than just that first inning, which really ultimately proved to be something of a fluke. I mean, Bader got on with a hit by pitch, advanced to second with a stolen base. advanced to third on an error, and then scored on a wild pitch. So, other than that rocky first inning, Lester was dealing. And then, you mentioned 11 strikeouts, 7 of them from John Lester, 3 of them from, unfortunately, he's not here, but Drunk Elliott's favorite player, Thickburger. He struck out the side when he came in, and then Brandon Morrow recorded another strikeout when he came in for the save. So, if you were going to put together a template for how you want a game to be played, other than the little hiccup there by Eddie Butler, today was it for Cubs fans.
Yeah. And so I think I had stared down at my phone at one point and it was 8-1. I thought, well, that's probably not the most exciting game to watch this late in the game. It got up to 8-5, but again, I really have to go back and watch this one. It's just the strikeouts and inopportune times really kill you. And we talked about this via chat the other night. Just the walks around this league. At least when we've watched our 2 teams closely, the walks have been incredible. Now, a lot of this could be weather related.
Yep.
I don't rule that out. But if there's any example to these younger players coming up, if they don't know it already from playing professionally in the minor leagues for years, a 2-out walk is going to haunt you. It seems like 50% of the time. You could have 2 outs, you walk 1, and it comes back to bite you. It is amazing how that works. It really is. It's amazing how that works. So while you mention the name, I'm just going to put a ping out here and see if we can get our boy at Miller Park. I don't know what kind of condition he's in.
Don't know if he'll figure out how to get the phone up to his mouth again. He may have forgotten that since the last time.
He actually may not know. I'm going to see if he picks this up before
It would be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Hi, honey.
Oh, Sarah, come say hi.
Message system.
How are you doing? Leave a message, Pete.
Is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Drunk Elliott, we were hoping that you would weigh in on Thickburger's performance today. 3 strikeouts, man. That was impressive. And we were also looking for an on-scene report. Have you seen any low-flying F-16s or possibly even some UFOs?
Have any of them run into the dome to open that thing up so it doesn't look so ridiculous?
Or did they open up the dome so that they could land there and then close it back up? Just wondering, if you can figure this out, give us a call back because we're live.
Yeah. And don't drive and call us. Have your wife drive and then you call us. Bye.
That was fun.
All right. So that's the series. When do they play again, Pete? I don't have it up. Can you pull that up? When do they play again?
Yeah, I will work on it while we riff here. I think it's not nearly as far away as it was last year.
Let's go to the topic that we wanted to talk about. Now, since we're at the Cubs Cardinals, I want to stay with that one. I want to talk about Rizzo's comments and how many people have jumped on him for saying what he said.
So Friday, May 4th is the next game.
Okay, that's not too far away. All right. I get it. I mean, I get why some people initially react that way, but I don't think it's such a bad thing. I mean, let's face it. Right. I mean, we're diehard fans. I don't care. Somebody who has the time to sit there and watch 162 games and claim they are numero uno fan, and everybody else who doesn't sit there and watch 162 is not a true fan. You're wrong. I mean, we all have different things we have to do, priorities. We have young kids, and we have to go to their baseball games or their events, and I can't watch them all. Let's face it, Pete, we're both diehards. We miss games throughout the year. What would the difference of 152 games be to 162? Honestly, to us as fans, what difference would that make? What difference would it make having an extra Monday, having 5 extra Mondays or Thursdays as an off day? Is that going to affect us that much?
Well, I mean, you look at what he says, right? He says, I think we play too much baseball. Yes, guys are going to take pay cuts, but are we playing this game for the money or do we love this game? I know it's both, but in the long run, it'll make everything better. He said, I think playing in the cold sucks. I was thinking about this the other day. When you think of Cubs and Cardinals, you think of a beautiful Saturday at Wrigley Field. You don't think about playing in 20 degrees. And he's absolutely right.
Right.
would I be willing to sacrifice 20 games a year so that you have a much better chance of all those games actually being played and not being postponed because of inclement weather? Absolutely. And here's another idea, and I know that nobody is going to warm to it, but it can be done without losing revenue. And I don't remember where I read this, but schedule for each team 2 doubleheaders a month, 1 road, 1 home, and they can be split doubleheaders so you don't lose the gates. But if you have 1 road game, 1 road doubleheader each month, and 1 home doubleheader each month, that saves a week and a half. You combine that with playing fewer games, all of a sudden you're not starting until the end of April. I mean, think about it. If you were starting next week, the season, here in Chicago, you could almost guarantee that you're not going to lose any games unless it's a massive deluge, and that you can always have at any time of the season. You're not going to avoid precipitation, but cold, that's something that you can do things to mitigate that.
Well, and that's an outlier this year. I mean, we're in the back half of April, and it's chilly.
It freaking snowed here last night.
This has been a very, very strange year, and it has been in our region too. I mean, we tend to look. We're both in the middle of summer, both Illinois and North Carolina. We're close to the same temp. It's just for us, we get it a little bit earlier. We get the mild weather a little bit earlier, and the mild weather stays with us a little bit more in the fall.
Right.
And so that's the real difference. But 20 degrees or near freezing temperatures in baseball is just one. It's not that fun to watch. They're playing elements, and it's not that we think these guys are a bunch of sissies. They're not. We have no idea the prep that these guys have to go through day in and day out. It is a grind. Anybody thinks that this job is easy and the money makes up for all of it is wrong. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you make when it's a grind day in and day out, and then you run into days like this. It's going to be tough on anybody. Imagine me, those of you who've criticized something that any ball player has said about playing in conditions like this. Let me move your desk outside for a day when it's freezing, okay? Let me move your office desk. You want to be so critical. Let me move it outside when the wind's blowing and it's cold as hell, and have you sit there on your ass for 8 hours, and then you tell me how easy it is, right? So, yes, I know they get paid a lot of money, but that's the profession.
Well, and especially when the tools that you work with, in particular, are your hands. You can't play other than batting, but still batting gloves aren't thick. You can't play baseball with gloves. You have to play with bare hands.
Right.
And that hand is,
you're on defense, one of your hands is open.
Yep.
That's all there is to it.
And it's going to be exposed to the elements. Just think about standing out there for 10 or 15 minutes at a time with your throwing hand completely exposed.
Yeah. So we've said that this year's been a little crazy, right? As far as weather this late into April. Got it, right? But no, playing in conditions like this for baseball, and don't anybody even tell me late October. Well, they play like this in late October. No. Yeah, it's colder. It's colder than it is in August for sure. But watching baseball in near freezing temperature is not good baseball. It doesn't produce good baseball. What we saw even Tuesday night, yes, Cardinal fans, they won. Yeah, take it, love it. But we didn't see if you watch that game, wasn't that fun.
Nope.
To watch.
Nope.
So yeah, I have no problem with what he's saying. And
he got blowback, man. He actually had to walk it back.
I know.
And I guarantee you that he had to walk it back from the players' union, not from Major League Baseball.
Right.
Because the owners know that if they did reduce the number of games,
you're getting paid.
Necessarily, right. Pay would be reduced.
Right.
And it would be reduced in proportion to the revenue that they would lose.
Right.
It's the players' union who objected.
If you got paid $16.2 million a year and you said you were going to play 10 less games, then okay, then your pay is reduced to $15.2 million.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's, yes, they open themselves up to that. Get it, understand it. But the criticism over it, if nobody told us and they chopped out 10 games out of the schedule, a very small percentage of the fan base would notice it.
Right. It's that kind of knee-jerk reaction too that stands as an impediment to improving the game and fixing the game. Right. The whole pace of play things. they can't have meaningful discussions about what might actually help the pace of play along, because there's the immediate knee-jerk reaction of, no, we're not doing that. We are not doing that because we don't even want to talk about it. Why? It's going to improve the game, but you just don't want to talk about it because it's going to affect your working conditions, the way you've always done things. I mean, come on.
Right. Speaking of unpleasantness or pleasantness, Bryan Price is now unemployed, but I'm not sure. Well,
I don't know that he's sad.
I don't know. I don't know if he's sad about it either. Yeah, the Reds are just awful, and so they've let him go in just around 20 games, if not 1 or 2 games under.
I tell you what, I feel bad for the guy because he was in a no-win situation.
Right.
You know, he was given nothing to work with. And this seems like kind of the coward's solution. There is, you're the one who has put together this mess of a roster. And now you're laying the blame on Bryan Price?
Well, it's probably more of a signal to fans like, we're not going to put up with this type of failure, this type of record. So we're gonna make a change.
Yeah, the change needs to start in that front office.
Absolutely, that's absolutely right. That's where the change that has been the common denominator in all this shit has been their front office, not the managers,
nope,
not the players, because they've come and gone, with the exception of Otto. But yeah, you're right. The common denominator is the decision makers up top. So,
and it doesn't help that they've also had a number of injuries that have happened already early in this season that have hamstrung them. No, they weren't playing well, but it doesn't help when
but you know what?
Eugenio Suarez, and he immediately goes down.
What's amazing is that I don't know. Somebody could probably argue with me, but the Reds didn't seem to go into like what people quote unquote tanking mode to strip down and rebuild. I don't know that they had completely done that. I know they had got rid of some people or let some people walk, but they hadn't gone in that mode, and they've just continued to suck. They've shown no signs of turning it around. Not at all. In fact, they've actually regressed. So even if you had pitched to your fan base 3 years ago, you were going to do something similar to what the Cubs needed to do, what the Astros needed to do. You didn't even say that, and you haven't gone anywhere. I mean, they're spinning their tires. So yeah, the only thing they can do to get the fans talking again or be somewhat interested is to, well, let's just fire the coaching staff. No, what would be more interesting to do, what I would want to hear as a Reds fan, is that you up top are no longer going to be involved in baseball decisions because, you know what, guys, you suck at it. And so what I'd want to hear as a fan is, we're going to step back. We're just going to collect our paychecks at the end of the year from all the revenue. And we're going to let people that know what the hell they're doing make baseball decisions. That's what I would want to hear as a Reds fan. Not firing Bryan Price. Not going through a fire sale. I'd want to see, you know what? I've really sucked at this for 6 years, so I'm going to go ahead and stop making decisions because I'm not very good at it. I'm going to let somebody that knows baseball make the decisions for us.
Well, when your general manager's name is Dick.
Richard.
Doesn't help. No, he's known as Dick.
Yeah, okay.
He goes by Dick. Hey, one positive for them. Jim Riggleman is back leading a team. If there was one guy in recent Cubs history who got the short end of the stick, it was Jim Riggleman. He never really got a chance to prove what he could do. Not to the extent that he probably should have.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish him all the best, but we both know nothing's going to happen, man. He is piloting a sinking ship.
Mm-hmm. They're giving you a canoe with no oars. You have fly swatters, and you're supposed to paddle upstream.
Yep, that's right.
With Joey Votto staring at you from behind,
throwing your baseballs into his back pocket and not to the fans.
You're dehydrated, and he's holding a bottle of water and say, "You want this?" and just tosses it over.
Anyway, but then you turn around and give a kid a bat, as long as he's a Reds fan.
Yes. All right. One more thing. I wanted to get into this. Baseball just in general. I know that, I could be looked at as being, well, you're an older fan. You're used to a different style of baseball, a different generation. Pete, we both experienced the home run era or the juiced ball or the steroid era, right? It's called a few different things. That probably wasn't my favorite era of baseball at all.
Not mine at all.
You know, because I think we looked at players that were mediocre, and then all of a sudden we looked at them one year and they're hitting 50 home runs. Brady Anderson. Brett.
No, we didn't practice that, folks.
Brett Boone. You know, we can probably name a few others that all of a sudden came out of nowhere and they were monsters. And then all of a sudden when stuff started getting loud and in papers, everybody's like, and then they disappeared, right? Deflated. And they're gone. Right. How's this comeback going? It's real. It's for real.
It is. Yeah. No, I think he signed with nobody yesterday.
Okay. Must be an independent league team.
I think it is an independent league team. Oh, no, it's not an independent league team. He said he was either going to play for a major league team or else he wasn't going to go. So,
okay.
So maybe he's still working out at home.
Yeah.
He's better than his kids. That's what he says.
I'm better than my sons. Speaking of my sons, though, I tell you what, you know, I've been a little vocal. Sam was my 7-year-old was took tennis lessons year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, and his tennis swing. I mean, when you're that young, you don't distinguish a swing of one thing to the next. So
right.
he took his tennis swing into baseball, and my wife's mad at me because, you know, you're blaming his baseball on his tennis swing, and I don't mean to do that because if the kid ends up wanting to play tennis, I'm fine with that. It doesn't matter to me. But it did. Tell you what, when they're that young, it took him to at least the last couple games. He started swinging the baseball bat like a baseball bat instead of trying to guide the bat like you would a tennis racket. 3 for 3 tonight.
Nice.
All of them went to the outfield, and he bats left-handed. And so I think this is kind of those things they figure it out. It's funny watching kids do this. But no, ultimately, I don't care if he enjoys tennis more. I have no problem with him playing that. I'd rather him just do what he wants to do, and I'm cool with that. I happen to be a baseball fan. I try not to force it on him. If he doesn't want to play, I don't make him. But he said he wants to, so yeah, okay, fine. I'll coach your team, and then I'll be on your ass all season. But no, the whole team tonight is funny with these 7 and 8-year-olds, man. They are hot and cold. I mean, they reflect what baseball is right now. I will coach that team on a Thursday night. 3 out of the 12 kids will actually hit. The rest of them will just whiff. They show up tonight, and we had to miss practice on Tuesday. Show up tonight, and they are just crushing the baseball as well as 7 and 8-year-olds can. But yeah, no, 10-run ruled the other team.
So
where did this team show up?
They were definitely paying attention to their launch angles and hard hit rate. Were they coming back? And I mean, did Will come back and he was like, "Hey, Dad, did you see that one launch angle was 22.8% of that?"
No, Will, no, we're not talking Will. Will doesn't give a crap about what the organization is in baseball. Will is a whole different animal in himself. Sam was the one I was coaching tonight. But no, I mean, when the kids are that young, they play. If they happen to dabble in multiple sports, like I'm sure if they did golf this young, golf habits would translate over to baseball. It's not like adults who are used to this stuff that can distinguish. Okay, now I'm playing this sport. I do it this way, you know. Right. But anyway, so my wife's not happy with me because I've been saying, "Oh, you made him play tennis. Now he doesn't know how to swing a baseball bat."
Wow, she's got a deeper voice than you, huh?
No, she doesn't. When she's not happy with me, it's much higher pitch. But no. So he's last couple of games he's kind of remembered this. This is a different style, but that's cool. He showed up tonight. I was proud of him.
Boy, Sam.
Sweet left-handed swing off the pitching machine.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. Same angle every time. Kind of like some pitchers we've seen this year. Can't fool anybody. Throw it in the same spot. Yeah. So this was a segue to the state of baseball right now, and I was paralleling that to 7 and 8-year-olds. They show up one game and then none of them can hit. Next game, all of them are hitting. I'm not seeing the same baseball that Pete, you and I, the games we appreciate, and that are the situational hitting, the hitting for average, just trying to get on base,
having a B hack when you're down 2 strikes.
I just, and call me stuck in my ways or only enjoying thing in a certain way. That's fine. But we all have our preferences. We all have our taste in music and books and everything else. I just don't enjoy the launch angle exit velocity era. I'm not enjoying it. To me, it's like when I came home from the military and all guys were frosting the tips of their hair, wearing tight shirts and big jeans. It just, to me, it's like, oh, this really sucks. I can't wait till this fad's over. I'm really looking forward to baseball being past this launch angle exit velocity thing, and that's all they're trying to do is snap their wrist and jerk a ball over the fence. Well, I'm really looking forward to this at some point in time. I know it's not going to happen soon, but I can't wait till this era is over.
I don't think it's going to take very long for the pitchers to adjust, and I think you're going to see the return of the high fastball.
I can't wait for it,
because that's the one weapon to combat the launch angle, especially with as hard as pitchers throw now. Once they figure out how to throw the high fastball up in the zone, they're going to throw it past all these guys.
Well, these guys throw hard enough now; they should be able to. Now, they need some help from the umpires actually calling the strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
That would help too.
Yep.
But
that would help pace of play as well, wouldn't it?
It would. And I'm looking forward to situational hitting and baseball getting back to what it should be. It just in my opinion, right? Not the way it should be, but my opinion.
Maybe what we ought to do is we ought to go back to the foundational days of baseball. I'm talking the 1870s, when the batter indicated where he wanted the pitcher to throw the ball, and it was the pitcher's responsibility to throw it there. I mean, ultimately, that's kind of where we're going, right? If we want pace of play to pick up,
I don't think that would have helped me in college.
I don't think it would help Jason Hayward now,
except for Matt Bowman.
Right.
Right.
Where do you want it, Jason? Low middle. He still tops it to the second baseman.
Yeah. So rolls it over to the second baseman. Yeah, but Pete, I can't tell you that, when I listen to MLB Network on the way to work, when you watch ESPN or anything else, they're showing, a slow motion front, and then they pan over to side view and they show a graphic showing how the ball came off his bat.
It's just feeding into it.
It is. It's totally feeding into it. And this is not.
And the thing that I wonder is how much of it is actually legitimate, right? Because you're seeing all these guys whose numbers are exploding, and so everybody is buying into.
Well, we say exploding. We see power things exploding. We don't see averages exploding.
No, you're right, and that gets to my point. How much of it is actually that launch angle really is a thing, and how much of it is the baseballs? I mean, we talked about it last year. There have been studies that have been done. The baseballs are different. As much as Major League Baseball wants to say that they're not, they may be within MLB tolerances, but they're at the upper range of the tolerances. And so the balls are livelier. If the ball's lively, it's going to jump regardless of your swing. And so, I agree with you. I would much rather see more line drive swings than these uppercut swings, because everybody's swinging for the fences on every pitch. I want more guys like Joey Votto and Anthony Rizzo who choke up with two strikes and who adjust their grip based on who they're facing.
Well, I'm going to throw
what the situation is.
I'm going to throw a name at you. I mean, I'd like to see another Mark Grace pop up somewhere.
Oh, hell yeah.
Another a new Ichiro pop up that knows how to just hit and get on base, knows how to hit in a situation. Who I'm almost starving for that, right? The only team you can see that does that right now consistently is really Houston.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you love to see the return of Tony Gwynn and Barry Bonds? I mean, Tony Gwynn and Wade Boggs.
Barry Bonds.
I know. I don't know why, but Tony Gwynn and Wade Boggs. Could you imagine a team trying to shift on those two?
Mm-mm.
No shift would work because they were just too adept with the bat. They would kill you. And it wouldn't be you're going to put three guys over on the right side of the infield, so I'm going to bunt to the left side for a hit. You would see Tony Gwynn slapping that ball down the line and turning, every at bat would be a triple because there would be nobody anywhere near the ball.
Tony Gwynn was an outlier, man. He could almost throw a ball like most people can throw darts at a dartboard.
Yeah, he could put the ball anywhere he wanted.
Right. Yeah. To me, and it sounds like to you, that's baseball at its best when people are controlling what it does, not violently swinging and going with your chances that 20% of the time I'm going to center a ball and it'll go far.
Right.
Bring back the 300 hitter baseball.
I agree.
Bring back the 300 hitter. Much more interesting, I think. This is almost like Pete with me watching basketball. I'm not the biggest NBA fan. I mean, I listen in on it every now and then. Not listen to a game, but I pay attention to at least what's going on. Not heavily, but you remember there was a time when a slam dunk was actually a big deal. Like, oh, cool.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And then it got to a point where anybody and everybody could do it, and that's all they cared about. And
yeah, it's not that big a deal when somebody dunks a ball now.
No, especially when they're 7 foot. Like, who gives a shit? So you can stand there on your heels and your hand can reach the rim. I don't really care. It's not a accomplishment or a huge athletic skill when you're the size of a Wookiee and you can dunk a basketball. It really doesn't impress me and say, oh my God, you are just so skillful and you've worked so hard because you can lift your arm up and slam a ball through a hoop. I don't care about that. What I care about is the strategy of how you get guys open.
Right.
How you how you get the defense to overcommit and then you go around the backside and you score. That was fun basketball. And I think the good thing the NBA does, I think it's a little bit back to that, where the dunk, the alley-oop, okay, once in a while, that's good. I'd like to see baseball get back to that. Hey, once in a while, a guy pops one.
Yeah,
awesome.
But basketball has changed now because it is all about the three-pointer. Everybody can shoot a three now. This is us sitting on the porch, rocking in our chairs like a couple of grumpy old men complaining about the good old days. But, you think about basketball in the 80s and the 90s. It was
way more fun.
It was a rare thing when somebody would dunk, and it was a rare thing when somebody would hit a lot of threes. It wasn't an expectation that every time down, your team was going to take a three. But that's kind of what you expect now watching the NBA. You're going to see a three-pointer on almost every possession.
You know what? I like it better than the slam dunk era for sure. But yes, I get your point. Yeah, too much of something is never a good thing.
Yeah.
When it's more balanced, love it, right? And so I think baseball is just in a weird spot right now where you're getting freaks that can swing, snap their wrists, and 15% of the time teams are happy if they center one, and they don't really care if guys can hit in a tough situation or not.
Yep.
So that's fine. Common sense at some point in time will prevail. And I just got a message that Sam needs lunch made, and that was my direction to make his lunch before I go to bed.
All right. So I guess that means that we need to wrap things up.
We do need to wrap things up. I'm done bitching about the modern era baseball, launch angle, exit velocity. Really boring terms to me anyway.
You're not done bitching about it. We're just going to put it on hiatus.
Yeah, we are. All right, man.
All right. When we're not online, you can find us at teamofrivalspodcast.com. On Facebook, just search for Team of Rivals Podcast. On Twitter at Team of Rivals Pod. On Instagram at Team of Rivals Podcast. You can contact us, all three of us, at the show at teamofrivalspodcast.com. And you can contact Elliot on Twitter at TOR_Elliot. Watch us live on YouTube every week, or catch us anywhere you listen to podcasts, iTunes and all the other ones, but we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a listen on Radio Public. We've got the web player available on our website, and you can also download their app. Radio Public aspires to be kind of like Netflix for podcasts through a curated algorithmic approach. And by listening to us on Radio Public's app or through their online player, not only do you push us up their list of recommendations, but you also support the show by throwing a couple of pennies our way. The best part is it doesn't cost you a thing. And of course, don't forget to visit the team store on Zazzle.
You're all into that. As much as you've made fun of it, man, you have more merchandise than
I have way more merchandise than all of us.
You do.
I am a constant marketing machine when I walk out of this place, man.
You are. You really are. Yes, Pete, thanks for leading us out. And I want to say thank you to Chris Lawless, Cardinals Nation 24/7. He's supported us damn near every day, right? Like putting something out about Team of Rivals podcast. We love that guy. We also love Two Birds on a Bat. They have thrown our name out there in several of their recent episodes. So, Jim, thank you so much for helping to get the word out for our podcast, and we sure are happy to support yours. Everybody else who's tuned in, listen, we've noticed the downloads take a spike. We love you all. If you're joining us, recently for the first few times, thank you so much, and we hope that you're enjoying our show. We try not to be the most serious. I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than this next guy. Talking about baseball, we certainly don't think of ourselves that way. We're just fans who enjoy the game, and we sometimes take the lighter side of this, which I would much rather do than sit here and crinkle my brow and throw stats your way and read headlines from stuff that other people have written. That's not what any of us want to do. Besides, I don't read out loud well anyway. Pete's sitting there cackling with the mute button on. That's awesome.
I didn't want to interrupt your flow, man.
All right. Well, with that said, thank you all. And Elliot, sorry we couldn't get a hold of you tonight, but I can't wait till he gets that message tomorrow. Pete, have a good week. We'll connect again. Same time, same place next week.
Good luck with those Reds, man. Enjoy the silence this weekend when you can't watch a single game.
I'll let you know 4 hours after the game happened.
Sounds good.
All right, everyone. Talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.